My wife hid the fact that she had another family. Now her other kids are suing me for our house. I'm a 42-year-old man, and I thought I had a pretty stable life. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for 12 years. We bought a house together, raised my teenage daughter from my first marriage, and built what I thought was a quiet, simple existence. I work long hours in it. She's a teacher. Nothing glamorous, but we were comfortable, or so I believed. It all began unraveling 6 months ago, when I received a thick envelope in the mail addressed to the estate of Melissa Carter. My heart dropped instantly. I thought something terrible had happened, but Melissa was alive, sitting right there in the kitchen making coffee. I opened it, confused, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Legal documents. A petition from 2 young adults, aged 19 and 21, claiming to be Melissa's children. Children she had before we got married. Children she had never told me about. They weren't just introducing themselves. They were suing me. According to the papers, they claimed they were entitled to part of our house, the one Melissa and I had purchased and lived in for over a decade. Their argument, that Melissa had helped pay for it, and as her children, they had legal standing to inherit her share. I sat there in silence, the documents shaking in my hands. I looked up at Melissa and said the only thing I could manage, "Who the hell are they?" Her face went pale. She sank into a chair and whispered, "I was going to tell you, but not like this." That was the moment my marriage, and my entire reality, split in half. When Melissa whispered, "I was going to tell you, but not like this," I felt my entire body go numb. For 12 years, I'd built a life with this woman. I thought I knew everything about her, her childhood stories, her favorite music, the way she liked her tea in the morning. But in that moment, I realized there were entire chapters of her life she'd kept locked away from me. I demanded answers. "What do you mean you were going to tell me?" "Tell me what?" "That you have 2 adult kids, who somehow think they can take my house." She lowered her eyes, fiddling with the edge of her coffee mug. "They're my kids," she said quietly, "from before I met you." I didn't know how to tell you. Her words rang in my ears. I stood there stunned, trying to process the impossible. We had been married for over a decade. That means she had been hiding to children, grown children, for all those years. She had come to our wedding, moved into my house, helped raise my daughter, all while pretending she didn't have other kids in the world. And they weren't babies. 19 and 21. That meant when we were dating, when she was saying she wanted to start a family with me, she already had teenagers. "Why?" I asked finally, my voice shaking. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" Melissa's eyes filled with tears. "Because I didn't want to lose you. You made it clear early on you didn't want more kids after your daughter. I thought if you knew about them, you'd walk away. So I told myself I could just keep those worlds separate." Separate. That word made me sick. She had carved up her life like a pie, me and my daughter on one side, her secret family on the other. And she'd been living this lie seamlessly for over a decade. I started thinking back to the early years, trying to spot the cracks I had missed. The business trips, where she was vague about where she went. The birthdays she claimed to spend with colleagues, or helping a friend. The times she'd come home with little gifts she said were from her students. I had chalked it all up to quirks, to the messiness of adult life. Now I realized those were weekends she was visiting them, her other kids. The rage and humiliation hit me like a tidal wave. I wasn't just betrayed as a husband. I was deceived as a human being. She had rewritten her identity for me, erased 2 entire lives from the story she told about herself. And the worst part, the lawsuit. Not only had she hidden them, but now these kids, strangers to me, were coming for my house. The one I worked endless overtime shifts to buy. The one my daughter had grown up in. "Do they know about me? About us?" I asked, almost afraid of the answer. Melissa nodded slowly. "Yes, they've always known. I told them it was complicated, that I'd explain someday." I laughed bitterly. "So they knew I existed, but I never even knew they existed. Do you have any idea how insane that is?" She started crying then, but I couldn't even bring myself to comfort her. The sympathy was gone. All I felt was betrayal. And as I stood there, staring at the woman I thought was my wife, I realized something chilling. If she could hide something this huge from me for 12 years, what else was she capable of hiding? That night, I barely slept. My daughter noticed something was wrong, asked why I was pacing the hallway. I couldn't tell her, not yet. How could I explain that the woman she called stepmom had another family, 2 kids old enough to be her half-siblings, who were now dragging us into court? As the sun came up, one thing became clear. I wasn't just fighting for the truth anymore. I was fighting for my home, for my daughter's stability, for my dignity. And if Melissa thought I was going to roll over and let her secret kids strip away the life I built, she was dead wrong. The first time I saw them, Melissa's other kids, wasn't at a family gathering, wasn't at some awkward sit-down where she finally came clean. It was in a lawyer's office. My lawyer's office. I remember sitting there, stiff in my chair, my daughter at school, my entire stomach knotted in rage. The door opened, and in walked two strangers with Melissa trailing behind them like a shadow. The boy, tall, maybe 20, sharp jawline, angry eyes, slammed his backpack onto the floor and didn't even look at me at first. The girl, a bit younger, 19, crossed her arms and glared at me like I was the intruder. And Melissa, she couldn't even meet my eyes. The boy spoke first. "You're the guy living in my mom's house." His mom's house. The audacity almost made me laugh. I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. "Correction. It's my house. I bought it. I pay for it. Your mom contributes, yes, but this house was never hers alone, and it damn sure isn't yours." The girl cut in, venom in her tone. "She raised us alone. You think we're just going to let you throw us out like trash now that she's with you?" I looked at Melissa then, waiting for her to say something, to defend me, to stop this madness. She just sat there, clutching her purse like a child. I slammed my hand down on the table. "I didn't even know you existed until last week. Don't you dare act like I owe you anything." That's when the lawyer cleared his throat, reminding us this was a civil proceeding. He explained that technically, if Melissa could prove she had invested money into the house, her children could claim rights to her share. I saw red. So because she's been lying to me for 12 years, now her kids think they get to inherit my home while I'm still alive. The boy smirked then. "You married her. What's hers is ours." That line nearly broke me. After the meeting, I cornered Melissa outside the office. "What the hell was that? Do you hear the way they speak to me? To us? And you just sit there in silence." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "They're angry. They feel abandoned." I laughed bitterly. "Abandoned? By me? They've known about me this whole time. I didn't even know they existed." "Don't twist this around, Melissa. You're the liar here. You're the one who abandoned honesty. And now we're both paying for it." That night, the tension in our house was unbearable. My daughter sat at the dinner table, confused by the silence between us. Melissa poked at her food, while I kept replaying the confrontation in my head. Two kids, grown, entitled, looking at me like I was the villain, while their mother sat quietly, too cowardly to admit her lies. Later, my daughter asked, "Dad, why are you so mad at Melissa lately?" I froze. My chest tightened. She deserved the truth. But how could I tell her that the woman she'd called stepmom for 12 years had been living a double life? That there were two other kids, two strangers, now threatening the roof over our heads? I swallowed hard, because she wasn't honest with me. And when someone isn't honest, it causes problems for everyone. She frowned, clearly unsatisfied, but didn't push further. That night, I lay awake while Melissa slept beside me. Every breath she took felt like a lie filling the room. And I realized something chilling. If she had been able to hide the children from me, what else had she hidden? Money, debts, other relationships. I didn't even know who I was married to anymore. And the lawsuit. That was only just beginning. The lawsuit didn't simmer down. It exploded. Within 2 weeks of that first disastrous meeting, I was buried in paperwork, subpoenas, financial records, demands for proof of ownership. My lawyer warned me that if Melissa had contributed even modest amounts to the mortgage or renovations, her kids might convince a judge that they had legal grounds to claim part of her equity. Equity. That word nearly made me laugh, because when I looked around at the house, the roof I had replaced, the basement I had finished, the endless weekends I spent fixing broken pipes or repainting walls, it was all my sweat, my money, my sacrifices. Melissa had chipped in here and there, sure, but it was a fraction compared to what I'd poured into it. Still, the law didn't care about feelings. It cared about numbers. And that's when the ugliest truth surfaced. My lawyer asked me to bring every bank statement, every joint account, every receipt we had. As I combed through them late one night, something jumped out at me. Withdrawals, large ones, thousands of dollars, quietly taken out over the years. And not once, or twice, dozens of times. Always on weekends Melissa claimed she was helping a friend move, or attending a conference. The pit in my stomach grew. I cross-referenced the dates with my calendar, with the few vague alibis she had offered at the time, and the picture became clear. Those weren't weekends with friends or conferences. Those were weekends with them. She hadn't just hidden her kids from me. She had been funneling our money to support them. Rent, tuition, groceries, who knows what else. And now those same kids were suing me for the very house my money had kept afloat. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. I felt sick. Like the walls of my own home were caving in on me. I confronted her the next morning, shoving the bank statements in her face. Where did this money go, Melissa? She paled instantly. Oh, I was helping them. They needed support. They're my kids. They're your kids, I roared. For 12 years, you let me believe they didn't even exist. You stood in this kitchen, kissed me goodnight, raised my daughter, and behind my back you were draining our accounts to support the children of your secret life. Tears streamed down her face. But I felt nothing. No sympathy. Just rage. I had to, she whispered. Their father left. They had no one. I thought I could balance both worlds until I found the right way to tell you. The right way. I laughed bitterly. The right way would have been before you married me. Before you moved into my house. Before you bled me dry to raise a family I never agreed to. Her sobs filled the room, but I walked out. I couldn't stand to look at her. Word spread quickly. Somehow, her kids, or maybe Melissa herself, had told people in our extended circle about the lawsuit. My sister called me, furious. What is this I'm hearing about Melissa's kids suing you? Did you know about this? When I explained, she gasped. She lied to you for 12 years. And people thought you were crazy for being angry. No, she's the fraud here. Even my neighbors started whispering. One evening, while taking out the trash, Mr. Jenkins from next door shook his head and muttered, "Heard about the mess. Sorry, man. Didn't know your wife was living a double life?" Humiliation became part of my daily routine. I couldn't go to the grocery store without feeling eyes on me. My daughter grew more withdrawn, sensing the tension but not knowing the full truth. She asked one night, "Dad, are we going to lose the house?" That nearly broke me. "No," I told her firmly, hugging her tight. "I won't let that happen. Not after everything I've worked for." But inside, I wasn't so sure. Because as the case moved forward, Melissa's children weren't backing down. They were demanding a full audit of our finances, and Melissa, coward that she was, refused to take a stand. The woman I married wasn't by my side. She was standing in the shadows, protecting her lies, leaving me to fight alone. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I realized something brutal. Maybe I wasn't just fighting for my house. Maybe I was fighting for the last scraps of my dignity in a marriage that had been a fraud from the start. The day we stepped into court, I felt like I was walking into an execution chamber. My whole life, 12 years of marriage, every dollar I'd worked for, every sacrifice I'd made, was on trial. Not just in front of a judge, but in front of Melissa's kids, her lawyer, and a gallery of people who would now know every sordid detail of my wife's double life. I wore my best suit, not because I wanted to impress anyone, but because I refused to look like a beaten man. Melissa walked beside me, pale and silent, her eyes glued to the floor. She wouldn't even hold my gaze. She hadn't since this started. And then there they were, her kids. Lucas, the oldest, sat with his arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd stolen something from him. His sister, Ava, stared straight ahead with a bitterness that didn't belong on someone so young. To them, I wasn't a victim. I was the obstacle between them and the prize, my house. The judge called the case, and their lawyer stood first. He painted a picture of a devoted mother, who had contributed financially to the marital home, whose children now had a right to claim her share. He used words like inheritance, equity, stability. He made it sound like I was the villain trying to rob two innocent kids of their mother's legacy. My blood boiled. When it was my lawyer's turn, he stood tall and spoke with icy precision. "Your Honor, this case is not about inheritance. My client is very much alive. This is about deception." Mrs. Carter concealed the existence of two adult children throughout 12 years of marriage. She not only lied to my client, but siphoned marital funds to support these children without disclosure or consent. And now, those same children, who have never lived in or paid for this house, are attempting to seize property that belongs, by right, to my client. He dropped the bank statements on the table with a slap. Every withdrawal Melissa had made, every dollar funneled into her hidden life. The courtroom gasped. Then came the part I'd been waiting for, testimony. Lucas took the stand first. He spoke with anger, his voice sharp. "My mom always told us she'd make it right, that we'd be taken care of. She helped pay for that house, so it's partly hers, which means it's partly ours." My lawyer leaned forward. "Did your mother ever tell you that she had remarried? That she lived in that house with another man and his child?" Lucas faltered. She said she was in a complicated situation." Did she tell you that she never disclosed your existence to her husband? That he was kept in the dark for over a decade?" Lucas' face reddened. "That's not our fault." He asked more questions. The judge's brow furrowed at that. Even she could see the entitlement dripping from his words. Then Ava took the stand. She was quieter, her voice trembling, but her resentment was clear. "We just want what's fair. My mom is our mom too. Why should he get everything?" My lawyer's response was calm but devastating. "Because he's the one who built it. Because your mother chose lies over honesty. Because fairness doesn't mean stealing from someone who had no knowledge of your existence." And then it was Melissa's turn. When she took the stand, I braced myself. I wanted her to finally admit it all, to say out loud what she had done, to acknowledge that I wasn't crazy, that I had been betrayed in the deepest way possible. Her voice shook as she began. I made mistakes. I thought I could protect everyone by keeping things separate. I didn't want to lose my marriage, and I didn't want to abandon my children. I thought I could balance both, but I was wrong. For 12 years, my lawyer pressed. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, I was terrified. Every day, I felt nothing. No pity, no relief, just exhaustion. The judge looked at her sternly. Mrs. Carter, do you acknowledge that you diverted marital funds to support your children without your husband's knowledge? Melissa whispered, yes. Do you acknowledge that you concealed their existence from him until they filed this suit? Her voice cracked. Yes. The silence that followed was suffocating. Even Lucas and Ava looked stunned, like they hadn't expected their mother to fold under pressure. In that moment, everything was out in the open. Every lie, every betrayal, every secret. The life I thought I had built with Melissa was gone, shattered in front of strangers in a courtroom. And all that remained was the question of what would happen to me, my daughter, and the only home we had left. When Melissa finally admitted everything in open court, the lies, the secret withdrawals, the fact that she had concealed two entire children from me for over a decade, I felt something inside me snap into place. Not relief, not triumph, but a grim confirmation. The woman I had married never truly existed. She had built a version of herself for me, a mask, and I had loved the mask. The judge leaned back, her eyes sharp as she shuffled through the paperwork. This is an unusual and deeply troubling case, she said. On one hand, Mrs. Carter has contributed financially to the marital home, however modestly. On the other, it is clear that her husband was deceived, that funds were diverted without consent, and that these children have never resided in or contributed to the property they now claim. The courtroom was silent. I could hear my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. My lawyer's hand rested on my shoulder, steady and firm, as if he was bracing me for whatever came next. Therefore, the judge continued, I rule that the petition for inheritance or transfer of property rights by the children is denied. They have no legal claim to this property at this time, as their mother is alive, and the property is jointly titled. Furthermore, given the evidence of deception and the diversion of marital funds, I advise Mr. Carter to pursue equitable remedies in family court, should he wish to dissolve this marriage. I exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. It wasn't over, not by a long shot, but the house, my daughter's home, was safe. For now. Lucas erupted, slamming his fist on the table. This isn't fair. She promised us. His sister Ava was crying, her face red with frustration. Their lawyer tried to calm them, but the damage was done. The entire courtroom had just witnessed the ugliness of their entitlement, the raw bitterness Melissa had cultivated by keeping us all in the dark. Melissa sat frozen, tears streaking her cheeks. She reached for my arm as we stood, whispering, I'm so sorry, please. We can fix this. I pulled away. No. You've been lying to me since the day we met. There's nothing left to fix. Walking out of that courtroom felt like stepping into a different life. Reporters weren't waiting, but the whispers of neighbors, friends, and even extended family traveled faster than I could have imagined. Within days, everyone knew. Melissa had hidden two adult children, funneled money to them behind my back, and now they had tried, and failed, to take my home. The fallout was brutal. My daughter barely spoke to Melissa after the truth came out. She told me one night, Dad, I don't want to live with her anymore. She's not who I thought she was. And I couldn't argue. Melissa's children cut ties with her too. I later learned through mutual acquaintances that they blamed her for betraying them twice, first by hiding them, and then by failing to win them the house. In trying to keep two families, she lost both. As for me, I filed for divorce the following week. My lawyer pushed hard, citing fraud, financial deception, and abandonment of trust. It was messy, exhausting, humiliating, but I didn't care. I wanted out. I wanted her name off the deed, off my accounts, off every part of my life. Melissa tried to fight, but without allies, without credibility, she crumbled quickly. The judge awarded me sole ownership of the house. Given that I had been the primary financial contributor, she left with little more than her clothes, and a small settlement, a shadow of the life she had clung to. The day she moved out, I watched her load her car in silence. She looked smaller somehow, not the woman I had once loved, but someone hollowed out by her own lies. She turned to me, eyes wet, and whispered, I thought I could keep everyone happy. I thought I could have both lives. I didn't answer, because the truth was simple. When you live a double life, sooner or later, both sides collapse. Now, months later, my house is quiet again. My daughter and I have reclaimed it, filling it with new routines, new laughter. The wounds are still there, I don't think I'll ever look at marriage the same way again, but at least the foundation is mine, solid and unshakable. As for Melissa, she moved in with a friend across town. From what I've heard, her kids still want nothing to do with her, and I no longer care. Because in the end, the house stood, the truth came out, and I survived. But sometimes, late at night, I still ask myself, how many years of my life did I waste loving a lie? And how many more will it take to trust again? Follow me for more stories.